Okay, welcome back to our basic series here. Now in this video we're going to pick up exactly where we left off. As you'll recall from the last video, we had a 21 EMA on and we'd done a little modification on the exit conditions, asking the algo to exit after 5 bars regardless of the outcome. That's done a couple of things, right? We don't have any runaway trades or trades that are going off of multiple days, so it's a bit more of a scalper's kind of an algo. But I think what you'll find here is with a little tweak here and some adjustment and some new tools that I've added here, we can improve our results. So in the interest of doing that, but not deviating too terribly from it, from where we were, all I've done here now is add our devil bands. So let me come right down here. So you'll see the center line, that's the same 21 EMA, still a 21 EMA. But I've just got a channel on either side of it based off of a 21 period ATR. So you can see the 21 period with 1 times the average true range has been applied. So we get a channeling. And the entry conditions that we're looking for here are for the market to take a short or a long when the price action moves outside of 1 ATR. Now, in addition to that, to refine some of the momentum that we can work with here, I've added our wicked wave, which is a kind of a very souped up and modified RSI, but at its core, it's an RSI. It just looks very different. So you see with the wicked wave, if you'll note here, let me bring it, I guess we're good here. You can see them over here. We have a series of conditions and events that we can have the algo attached to and fire from. So we have both a zero line cross as we cross above below the zero line. We have continuation signals here where you see where there's a little C, where we have the market trending, there's a little pullback, and then we get a continuation. That's what we're going to focus on here. And then we have just straight reversal signals as well. Any of those now become hooks that the algo can use for an execution. But in our focus here, as I now take that off here, we're going to focus on the continuation signals that you see here. So we're looking for the following conditions. We want the price action to be outside of the 1 ATR channel, and we want the wicked wave to be trending one direction or the other, and we're looking for to key in off of the continuation signals. As you see here, there's a series of them. Here you see some more here. We get continuation signals here. Now I have run an optimization on this, and one of the things that we're going to go over here is some of the new features that have been added since just the last videos I did 5 days ago. Some new features that have been added into the optimization. So let's take a look at that. As you'll see now, we have trades that are happening in the overnight session, and that's due to the time optimization that we are now able to do. So let me bring up the optimizer here and we'll take a look at some of these new features. Okay, now that I have Algo Studio Pro open here, let's go look at, just quickly review our conditions. So you'll note here again, we want the price to be above the EMA, right? So above the 21 EMA. We want the close to be outside of, in this case for a long signal, to be greater than 1 ATR, right? So the upper channel, the upper band, essentially what you're saying, and less than for a short, right? And then with the wicked wave, we want the continuation signals. As you see here, we want these continuation signals, and those are keyed to, and of course you'll be able to get all of these signals when you, here, let me push this off here, when you go to your data box. So bear with me a second here, I'll make this easier for you. So data box, when you're trying to construct an algo, will be your very best friend. So when you see the continuation here, if we look over here for continuation long short, those are going to, likely it's either going to be a 1, a -1, or a 0, where the algo is noting that condition, and then it becomes a hook that the algo can grab onto. So when you'll note here, if I put it there, if you look at the continuation long right here, you can see continuation long is a 1. So with regards to our algo here, when we're looking at the wicked wave here, our continuation signal is equal to a 1, right? If we're going short, it's a -1, right? It'll just do the. Now, be careful though, because what it'll do, it'll put 1 and 1 here. So there are times where the nature of the mathematics, right? It's going to be -1 or +1. So just be sure that you check that you've got what you're looking for here. Your results won't be what you're intending. So this is where you come, right? If you're not sure, like where do I, you've got all of the hooks right here. So then you in turn can go here, go to Wicked Wave here, and then we can look at all, these are all the hooks that are available for Algo Studio Pro to use. We're just focusing on continuation long and continuation short in this particular algo that we've created. So let me take that off. And once you work with it a little bit, these will get easier to execute and put them together. But I remind you, the data box will be your best friend here when you're looking for, okay, how do I get that into the algo here? And it's almost always going to be a 1 or a 0 or a -1 that you'll find here. Sometimes there are 1s and 2s as well, but it'll be self-evident once you get in there and start playing with it. So let me take that off here. So just reviewing here. Oh, pardon me. In addition to just the continuation, we want the 0 line cross. So we want the RSI to be above 0. That's one of our ongoing conditions. And then as we just went over, the continuation bar, the continuation signal long or short. Now for exit, let's go to our exit signal here. We haven't changed that from the last video where we were trying to refine our results here. Well, we're equal to or greater than 5 bars, right? So essentially the max that you're in the trade is 5 candles. Whether it's, in this case, a range or time-based, wouldn't matter, same condition. So let's go over now to our ATM and take a look at some of the new features. Now these have just recently been added. There's two things here. We didn't go over the advanced settings in the last video here. So number one, you're going to see this as soon as you bring up the optimizer. We now have the capacity to optimize for 30-minute windows throughout a 24-hour period. So when I go to optimize here, one of the choices in addition to the advanced settings, which we're going to get into in a second here, one of the choices will be to optimize for trading hours. So it's going to go through, in this case, 100 generations, and it's going to analyze where we're going to see the best results within those 30-minute windows. As you can see here, as I've already run this, I've already optimized this, there are certain times of the day where it's encouraging you to not be actively trading it. Or if you're running it as a strategy, it's going to automatically turn off during those periods, right, and turn back on when those checked time windows are available for the algo to trade. So you don't have to fuss with that. It's going to do it automatically assuming you save this, load it into your strategy trader. All of these time filters will be active. So we have that. Now let's go over to the advanced settings, because this is where we had just kind of shown it, but we hadn't really dug in here. So I've used some of these in here to try and improve those results, or create more realistic results, if I may say it that way, based on how a trader might experience this. So one of the first things that I went to is to the stop and the trailing stop. So in this case, I didn't want a loss greater than in the $300 range. So I used a 24 tick maximum stop loss for all the generations that it's looking for. So I don't get huge winners, huge losers that are perhaps not realistic to how you would experience it as a trader. So all we're doing here is giving you some additional filtering capacity here in addition to what you have here. Now see, it's one thing to say, okay, I don't want a loss greater than 300 and a max drawdown greater than 650. Well, it may or may not be able to find that, but if I'm specific over here and say, I don't want a stop loss greater than 24 ticks, I'm not going to have a stop loss greater than 24 ticks. Now, I may not have a profitable algo, but I'm not going to have a loss bigger than that. That's the precision in the filtering that's now created via the advanced settings. And you can be very detailed about what you're looking for here. I just know when I'm first starting out with an algo, I want to be precise about the maximum amount of loss I can take on any one trade. So that's a way that you can do that. So in this capacity here, this is exactly what I've run here. I'm going to show you the results in a second. So nothing fancy here, only 100 generations. I mean, again, we have people running 1,000 generations. So it's all just a question of, what kind of time you want to allocate to it and the kind of the horsepower of your computer. Because it will take a little bit longer here, but for 100, it's maybe 30 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and close this just so you can see what I've done here. And I am highlighting here, always use a stop loss, yes, and yes, optimize for trading hours. So I'm going to take that off. I'm going to push this off to the side. Let's put our stats and our equity curve up and see what we got here. I'm going to push that off just to free up the screen real estate. And a couple of things you're going to see. Well, I certainly got a nice looking equity curve here. Now, this is off of, I think I have 14 days of data in here just to reduce the amount of time for the optimizer. Let me get that off, so I know that's annoying. And you'll see here, now it's very important that you go through your trades. You want to make sure that you're seeing exactly what you've asked it to do, as in, I don't want trades that are going longer than 5 bars. So you can see right here, per the algo, it's per the optimization, were I to not put that 5-bar filter on it, it has targets up here. So the risk reward scenario here in terms of stop to target is substantially higher. Now, that's the kind of thing you might play with a little bit and say, well, does it get better if I take out the 5-bar limit to how long a trade can stay open? That's the kind of thing you might experiment with. But for our purposes here, when I see an equity curve like that without substantial drawdown, and let's here, if we can look over here, the maximum losing streak is 403. Now, I come over here, I like to pay attention to average win, average loser, biggest win, biggest loss. I want to see the right kind of relationship there. Now, the win ratio is very high here, right? We're at a 70% win ratio. Profit factor is 3.51 to 1. Total trades is 65 over 10 days. I think I have 14 days in here, so there are a few days where it just didn't trade. And that would likely be the result, not so much that the trade conditions weren't there, but it was outside of the windows that he'd optimized for. Right, so you will notice that, and that's a decision you have to make as a trader. I mean, these are trades that are happening. You know, that's 8:30. That's 8:30 that these are happening. This is right after the close, right? Which is not uncommon to see a pump after the market closes, or sell-off, right? If some news release or some earnings report, something like that might trigger something after 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Here's a massive short, right? We don't participate in that. Is it outside of the window? Likely, right? We're back in the window here where I've got a couple of continuations. Right? So again, just the process of going through your trades and then looking here. So here's the longs without that 5-bar filter. Here's the target up here. Well, you look and say, oh, well, if I didn't have that filter on, it's not going to make the target. I would have had a nice winner here, but likely, you know, may have been stopped out eventually way over here. So you're not getting that target. You're not getting that big winner, but I'm also not getting the big loser that might have been. Or if we'd been stopped out here, whatever, right? So the idea being, go through your trades here and make sure everything is firing as you've designed it. Now, of course, we have the capacity to go and look at our reports, because after running this, we want to go here and say, okay, well, that's hours of the day. Where is it trading? Well, pretty good between 2:30 and coming in at, well, here's 4 p.m. So pretty broad based. One negative out here in the late early morning. So that's interesting. Days of the week, okay, doesn't like Thursday. Well, at least relative to the last, I think 14 days is what I have in here. Days of the month. Again, I don't have full 30 days, so that may not be as relevant as you can see here. I only have 14 days. But I think hour of the day is the place that I go to and say, okay, well, all right, where is it not trading here? So this is 7:30 to 9:30. There's a pocket here. It doesn't like, but this obviously, right? That's 8 to 8:30. And often there's data released during that time window, so it's not terribly surprising that it's active there. But interesting that it's got its biggest win rate there. So we come back to our ATM, and now let's just focus on it. So you'll recall in the optimization that I had asked for no more than a $300 loser, which would be 24 ticks, so 21 right in the pocket. My risk reward here, I had looked for, I think I had a limit of risk reward for trailing stop 3 to 1, risk ATR trailing stop 3 to 1, and then a tick offset. We could use previous bar or high. Again, keeping these somewhat modest, more in a range that would be more typical for the average trader. Not trying to define what's average, just based on users that we work with, that would likely be in the range that people would be comfortable trading. Now, particularly since you're now evaluating this trading outside of RTH hours, you have to think, okay, are you comfortable with that? Well, perhaps not at first, but you've got to let it run a little bit, maybe in sim, just to get comfortable letting it run, if you're asleep. I mean, the other thought is, I mean, if you're not comfortable with that, which I'm not saying yes, no, I'm just saying the ASP is just showing you the best windows to trade based on the algo that you've created. You decide whether or not you want to let it run, if overnight or when you're asleep or when you're away from your machine. That's a decision only you can make. But you can come back here and say, okay, well, let's say you're you're only in front of your machine during regular trading hours. Well, you might come back in here and say, well, okay, I'm going to take off 2:30. I'm going to take off 4, but then you got to come back here and say, okay, if I'm taking those time windows out, oh, right, obviously that's going to affect my results if I'm not going to trade during that time. Trade-offs, right, that you're going to have to decide. We can't make that decision for you. Again, this is just the pure mathematics of it, right? This is showing you, based on the data you've entered, where the times are, where the algo is most profitable, right? That's all it's saying. So we come back here and go, okay, am I comfortable with that? Could I let that run overnight? Well, maybe you test it for a week in sim, just to get comfortable with it. Just a suggestion. Let's come back over here to our logic. Oh, I think this, just out of curiosity, so we can do this and see how it changes. Now, note what just happened, right? So my numbers are, it's not like they've gone horribly negative. You can see here now I'm getting a much bigger win here, much bigger wins here. But also, likely you're going to see bigger losers, right? Look at the max losing streaks, 1,300. Oh, biggest loss, still relatively modest, because despite the fact that I'm taking out the 5-bar range in my ATM, I'm still looking at 21 ticks here. So what that is central to is what you set up in your advanced settings here, where I was very deliberate about giving it no more than 24 to 16 ticks for its range of stop. And then for a target, I left this relatively wide open. Well, those are defaults. Now you could tweak that a little bit and say, hey, for target risk reward, I want no more than say 3-to-1, right? And then you'd have to rerun the optimizer and say, okay, well that's going to tighten that range up. What's that going to do to my results? And these are the kind of things you want to fine tune, and then do a little experimentation, a little trial and error back and forth. What 3, 4, 5? Those are all the kind of things you do as you're refining your algo, right? That's the whole idea here. We're giving you lots of options, and then additionally, as much data as we can possibly give you. Okay, one of the best times for it to trade. What are the best days of the week for it to trade? What are the best days of the month for it to trade? That's all the feedback that you're getting here. Now, so if you created your algo and you came up with this for, so we can look at the results. Now, you'll recall for the last one, the win rate was over 70%. Now we're down to 42. We still have a decent profit factor. It's still pretty good. 35 trades, total of 10 trades a day. Total of 10 days were traded. Of the 14 that are loaded in there, it only found trades on those 10 days, and it's an average of 3 trades a day. Average win, 646. Average loser, 266. These are not bad, right? They really aren't bad. I mean, the drawdown is a bit harsh here. But is that unrealistic to what you're currently experiencing? Maybe, right? So then the next thought would be, well, how can I smooth that out? Well, perhaps one way to smooth that out is to reduce the number of bars that can stay open. All right, you see that? Now, the net result is not dramatically higher. Well, look at it here. Oh, so we got 5,000 to, if I get it off there, it's a $700 swing. Better, worse, only you can decide that. Or you might say, okay, that's a good start, but I want to refine beyond that. So you might run the ATM again. Maybe you loosen it up or tighten it up. These are all the choices, right? And that's all we're trying to do here in this basic series, is essentially show you the kind of flexibility that's available to you now, which previously you didn't have access to this kind of a tool. And then I'm just choosing our devil bands and wicked ways. I mean, virtually any indicator that has hooks in it, you can use. Certainly does not have to be one of ours. I'm just, would make sense for me to show you one of ours, right? These are two that I like, that we use often, right? That are part of many templates that we put together, but now we're able to put them into an algorithm and then track the results. So it's not a boy, if you just took it when it broke the bands, right? And the algo was up here, boy, look at how you, right here, we can automate the whole process. So it does a couple of things. One of the things, you're really going to learn your indicators. it kind of forces you to really evaluate when is this best? What are the conditions where this is best? Now here, okay, that's, for those of you that know me, right? If that's a first test of the IB low. I wouldn't be overly anxious to be shorting right into that, but I don't want to digress into that. That's just that's a trade that if you follow any of my stuff, that's a trade that I'm always looking for. First test of the IB, high or low, because there's an algo that sits there that fades it. So with that said, I think we can look, just again, it's always a good idea, go through your trades. Okay, is this what I want? Are all the conditions met here? Okay, well, it's not trading here. No, right, so I've got trades firing here. Now, so notice this. The algo is loaded here. All of these are legitimate entry signals, but it's not taking those because per the 14-day optimization that we did, it's defined that is not a profitable 30-minute window for this algo to be trading, despite the fact that those would have all been winners. It's kind of an interesting trade-off that you have to make, and then you have to make that decision as to whether or not you want to include those time filters. So you can come back to your ATM and say here, and when you go to optimize, just say, okay, no, don't include the optimizing of the trading hours. You might go back to saying, okay, I just wanted to trade during regular trading hours. Take a look at those results. Right, lots of flexibility here, and then of course everything in here can be fine-tuned. Now, one thing I just caution, because you'll learn this the hard way if you haven't already. Save everything, right? So if you get a good optimization result, save it. Save it, or you'll lose it. You'll have to run it again. Now you can likely recreate it, but it can be frustrating to get something fine-tuned, tweaked. You've run several optimizations, you get the time dialed in, and then you close it and you go, oh. Forgot to save it, right? So you want to save the algo as well as the optimization, right? Those are two choices, and you might save them in different folders just for the expediency of bringing one back up rather than going, oh God, where did I save that? In algos, or did I save that in optimizations? Make that distinction between the two in your file folders so you can get to them more easily. All right. Okay. So with that, I think we'll wrap here. This is run longer than the others here, but a little bit more to cover with the new features here. This is now the 18 beta. This will be available. If it's not already by the time you see this video. It will be available in our Discord, and there will be more updates and more betas to come as we continue to improve. And we very much listen to your feedback. So as we get that good feedback on ways that it can be improved and we can meet the demands of our members and our customers, we look to include those if we can. All right. So with that, I'll sign off here, and we'll see you on the next one.